President isn't the only one preparing for the Thanksgiving feast. Republican presidential candidates campaigning in the South ahead of Super Tuesday, or what they're calling the SEC primary, right? Republican frontrunner Donald Trump entering a new phase of his campaign, bringing out the whole family last night in South Carolina, everybody color coordinated, beige and blonde. But the New York Times editorial board is not buying Trump's attempt to look more presidential. In an article titled "Mr. Trump's Applause Lies," they write, in the Republican field, Mr. Trump has distinguished himself as fastest to dive to the bottom. If it's a lie too vile to utter aloud, count on Mr. Trump to say it. Often it's no easy task for journalists to interrupt Mr. Trump with the facts, but it's an important one. I'm joined now by former Deputy Assistant to George W. Bush, Republican strategist Brad Blakeman, and John Neffinger, co-author of Compelling Profile and president of the Pac Franklin Forum. Great to have you both. Brad?
Thanks.
Wow, the New York Times is sharpening the knives there, except that it's nothing that some other people have said, including Bill O'Reilly, who challenged Donald Trump on his facts that he was retweeting, and yet he continues to rise in the polls. So does anything really penetrate or just bounce off?
Well, perhaps when people actually go to the polls, we'll have a better understanding as to Trump's popularity. And that's really where the real test will begin. Not with the Iowa caucuses, which are not secret ballots. They're basically living room conversations held in schools and churches and other places. But when people actually go into the polls and have a secret ballot in important battleground states, that's when we'll really take a measure of whether Trump is catching on. The other thing is, it's not enough for the media to check Trump. It's up to the Republicans and the candidates to also put a check on him.
You know, exactly. You know, do the fact checking, which is extremely important. Certainly, John Neffinger, the whole "We Are Family" brings out Melania, Ivanka, who we've seen. She's been on the network many times. Yep. But is this a new stage? And do we start to see Hillary bring out the grandchild? And on the other side,
that's a great question. I don't know how soon we'll see her, but yeah, you got to do that around Thanksgiving. And the other reason you got to do that is because Trump has been ruffling a lot of sorry, I got turkey on the brain feathers lately. Yeah. By going, as the Times was saying, really, really hard to, I guess one would say, the right. But that piece of the Republican coalition that was targeted in the Southern strategy a couple of decades ago, the folks who resisted integration in the first place. So we're talking about registering Muslims. We're talking about roughing up black protesters in Alabama. This is not done by professional Republican politicians. But Trump just doesn't play by the rules.
Brad, Senators Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz are fighting over Senate voting records again. How do either of these candidates avoid that same criticism that President Obama has faced from the party in the last 7 years, sort of being that first-term senator battle?
Well, let me tell you something. Let's bring it back to the business world. Nobody could work for a corporation if they were going around interviewing for other corporations, and the corporation paying for them knew it. In politics, it's become part of the norm. And as a taxpayer, I don't like it. But a lot of people do it. And the fact of the matter is, if you're elected to do a job, you need to do that job. And if you don't want to do that job, then you should resign and run for higher office. So I'm not a big fan of any senator, any public official using their current office to run for another office. But it seems to be the norm. And it doesn't seem to be an issue that has affected any candidate one way or the other.
One way or the other. We do have some breaking news, and we're going to put